This is the first time that the planning group has officially discussed this item since the bollards have gone in place. It was the city who put those in, not the community planning group. If any members here, we'll just open it up for member comment. So first, I would like to go over any facts that have not been addressed, some of the context which I think Greg wants to provide.
Thank you. In all fairness to this planning board and acting chair Charlie, this is the first time the board has agreed to hear your comments, and we welcome your comments. Now, in April 2022 is when the planning board did vote to support the Slow Street. Carl was chair at the time, and he graciously asked me to take minutes, which I still have, by the way, because the secretary was out that night. And the board, I'd say 50% of the board has turned over since then. It was like you, me, Scott, and Marcella, maybe John T.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to slight correction to that, because we actually, at that meeting, the board voted to say that as the Diamond Street, Slow Street was at that time, was not acceptable. And we were not voting in favor of it. And what we were doing was saying that it should be.
Right, there was a motion that failed, and then another motion that passed.
Right.
Should be.
Right. So, but the bottom line is that what Charlie's saying is correct, which is that what we looked at then was very different from what we're looking at now. The bollards were not there, they were discussed. What we're looking at were signs that were on the roads that were being kicked around and stolen and everything like that. And basically, if you look at what actually the board said back then, it was sort of like the city either needs to put something in place that people are going to support or take it down. So it's a subtle difference, but Charlie's right. This board has never supported the bollards or the current state.
What month was that?
And we don't control it either. You know,
It was April of 2022.
April of 2022.
Okay, got it.
And we've got the minutes.
I got
Was that at St. Richard?
Yes, the St.
Yeah.
Richard's one, right.
Yeah, the
And
big
it was a joint town council and planning board
Right.
meeting, because we wanted, you know, and we had the media there, and we let everybody speak who wanted to speak, and we even had Zoom and
The meeting ran to about 10:30.
And
We weren't told that you were gonna vote that night. Nobody was told. Otherwise, I could have had 10 people that lived on Diamond Street at that meeting.
No, it was-
We weren't told. I was
It was
there.
very, very well publicized. It was very well attended. When you talk about the 16 to 16,
Yeah.
those were the public commenters. That was not a vote. 16 to 16 was not the vote.
Okay, in your meetings that I'm reading, it says 16 were opposed to Diamond Slow Street and 16 were in favor.
16
of
speakers.
PBPG.
16 speakers spoke in favor of it.
Right.
16. So just the same way tonight, people who spoke here tonight are not voting. And we could count how many people were speaking in
And
favor
I don't
and how many were
understand
against.
why it's not a vote when it's so important for the residents, but not for you guys.
Well, Carl, would you remind us what the motion that was passed that night? What was that motion that was passed?
I have it here, if you want to read it.
Yeah, and do you have the exact motion? Yeah. Thanks.
Or established.
Yeah, that's my work.
Um,
We're not getting that format.
PBPG recommends to the city that we continue Diamond Street's program and urge the city planners to conduct a comprehensive study of the impact of both Diamond Street and the neighboring streets and implement improvements. And the city, to my knowledge, did not conduct the comprehensive study,
Not,
and they did not implement, well, improvements. What constitutes improvements? Because at the time, you know, what would the improvements be? Was also, we thought there was going to be a process. It absolutely was just kind of plunked down even before it was put in place. I can tell you, the planning group advised then Councilmember Campbell that she should have community input before doing anything. That didn't happen.
We never about the workshop? Did they ever get that? That's just a month ago. I mean, it was unanimous at the workshop.
It was not unanimous, but.
Well, that was pretty close to unanimous.
Yeah.
That was also a different organization, that wasn't this group.
Yeah, I know,
There's
but did it
rules
get
and
up
conventions
the
that
ladder?
ask the city to step up, or you're going to ask the city to do something, but you're not holding them accountable. And as our representative, your planning committee needs to ask, where are these things that prove this?
That's what we're here to do tonight, is to,
Perfect.
we're here to establish what questions we're going to ask, what information we need to hear, what speakers are we supposed to get. That's what we're here for.
And I can say that there has been, as I think you all know, a change in our council member since when it was first put in place. And I think it's fair to say that Diamond Street was kind of Jen Campbell's baby. And so I do think that, and you need to understand that to the extent that something can be done, it absolutely, you need to get Joe Cava behind it. And,
We tried.
you know, but it's kind of,
Yes, leaders.
Is there anyone who's
I
in
think-
favor of the bollards?
What was that?
there's some.
Anyone who's in favor of it? who lives there?
order here.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it with one speaker at a time, and we're right now supposed to be focusing on board member kind of, any context they can provide.
Yeah, I don't wanna get into
No one
kind
goes
of
there.
pass right now and see how we can move forward.
Mhm.
I was at the parking meeting last night. I'm really encouraged by the work that, we had an ad hoc subcommittee from the parking board that had actually 3 meetings about the pathways, but one of those meetings was specifically this workshop you're talking about on, Diamond Street. And they created a draft report, and my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, is that report is being reviewed by the parking board. It's not final yet, and they're still taking input on it. So it's not a final document, but I was really encouraged by that because unfortunately, Diamond Street was this current idea that it's meant to provide special accommodations for bikes and pedestrians, took hold as, I would call it, a crisis during the pandemic. And the normal rules of public outreach and project development and project review didn't happen, and it never got better. So we have an opportunity with kind of this last workshop. There was a lot of input. I wasn't there, but I read the minutes. I think based on what I hear tonight, they seem to reflect pretty well the tenor of that meeting. And they have proposed kind of a menu of issues. Bollards are not included in what should be done to make that a more effective street that works for everyone. So I think part of it is not to come to a conclusion right away. I think we're getting the information. I certainly wouldn't be opposed if this group wanted to propose a motion to ask for the removal of the bollards and then kind of wipe the slate clean and start it. But that's not on the agenda tonight. But I think I'm really encouraged by kind of the comprehensive nature of the report that's underway and will be shared with this group, correct?
Oh, yeah.
What has been done, unfortunately, has been maybe with good intentions, but really not very fair. And certainly not fair to the people that are most impacted by it, which are the people that live and use the street on a daily basis. I've stopped using it, and let's talk about what Diamond Street is. I was in city government for 40 years, doing transportation plans and other things. Diamond Street is clearly intended to be a collector street. collector street for people trying to get to and through that neighborhood. It's different than Missouri, it's different than the street on the other side, which are not intended to collect traffic and get it out of the neighborhood. And when you start conflicting with that, like putting barriers down the middle of the streets, then you undermine the nature of how that street was designed. And assuming the lady that talked about it being a dangerous street, and I've seen this because I've been on that street, is that certain bad actors, just like bad dog owners, bad actors don't respect the traffic infrastructure that's in place. Diamond Street, I think, is a wonderfully designed street to slow traffic and make it safer. There's a four-way stop at every intersection on that street. There are signals at the major streets. Ingram and there's something in Mission, it's not really a block intersection, but there is traffic control that makes that street safe. It has sidewalks, it has street lights, it has all kinds of things that make it a safe street for all forms of transportation. And the suggestions I saw in this draft report are meant to enhance that, not take away from it. And the bollards have unfortunately taken away from it. So that's my thoughts on it. But I think the information we need is, we need this report so people can review it and think about it. We need, and I suggested this already, we need data. What accidents have occurred on that street? What is the traffic count on Diamond Street? What is the average speed on Diamond Street? Because without those basic pieces of data, we can't fix what's wrong, if anything's wrong. We can't even determine that something's wrong without some data.
Should that data be based without bollards?
Thank you.
Yes,
It should be based without bollards.
yes.
Right.
So what the board is doing right now, because the vote on the Diamond Street, including bollards, that we made, we are trying to figure out how to proceed on this issue, which clearly a lot of people care about. And in order to proceed, some of the dog park issue, we need information to come to the board to make a fair decision. So that includes anybody from any city departments that we would want to come speak and present, any results or data they might have. We didn't know what data we need, so I'm trying to record what you said, as well as anybody else from the board that says what they'd like to see. So that's the whole aim of this discussion right now. 4 opinions is trying to figure out what information we need to proceed. So Scott's here, he's raised.
Okay, I live on Emerald Street. Emerald doesn't go through, so I use Diamond Street. For 50 years, I've used Diamond Street. 3 major lies have been told to justify. It was told, we were being told that we were going to have a slow street, not a blocked street. So, those 3 lies are that Diamond Street is congested, and this will reduce congestion. Diamond Street will be made more safe. It hasn't been. It's been proven. I've sat there for hours, and I've watched the people blow through both directions. You talk about a California stop? I'm not talking about California stops. I'm talking about slowing maybe to 10 or 15 miles an hour going north-south. They're blowing through continuously. And all the kids on their bikes, all the electric motor scooters, they're blowing through the stop sign. Okay, so 3 lies. Congestion, safety, and it's going to help with the climate. Ridiculous. This is giving beautiful PB a bad name. You're getting a bad reputation, even though you may not realize it. You're the face behind this whole idea. You need, okay, regardless, Sister Carla, this is giving Joe LaCava a bad name because he promoted these lies. I hope you've been to multiple meetings, meeting after, you probably didn't do 5 meetings and you've heard what people have said. I hope you're passing that on to him because he needs to recognize he appears to have an ideology. He's so stuck on the ideology that he can't see the reality. Okay, I would 100% agree with the idea. There was no data collected. This was pushed in as a symbol. All the other slow streets citywide have gone away. This is the only one. We need to remove and start the process over again.
Yes.
All the slow, that's the bottom line. And we need to start from scratch where we actually collect data, get information, get new input. And I think having the ballers there has proven that even some people who may have been in favor at one time are not in favor now. Thank you.
Okay, great.
One of the things, Charlie, because Scott and I twisted his arm to put this on the agenda tonight, knowing we'd go overtime, so thank you, Charlie. And it's true, this has never been heard before, but I support the planning group continuing the discussion and getting data, and at some point, it could take 3 months to reconsider our April 2022 vote. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Greg. So, kind of on that note, we should, John has talked about the data, we need the beauty pathways report, the data, sorry. Average, speeding history, both with and without the ballers.
Charlie, can you give Ryan a chance to respond, because I called him out?
Yes, Ryan, can you speak? But I also, okay, you go first on that.
Okay. Great. So I've done pretty comprehensive research on Diamond Street just to understand its full history. You can find it on the little QR codes, or I'll try to circulate it as well. My understanding, having dived into all this, is that Diamond Street is best understood as a traffic calm street as part of the PD Pathways network, and is being used as a pilot for the city's broader traffic calming plans. And so that touches on a number of different reasons why Diamond. And I think that a lot of the discussion that we have here is because there's a bunch of different kind of priorities that are all clashing on this one street. So in terms of PD Pathways and its goals, the community has expressed support for the goals of safety, of attractive bicycle and pedestrian routes, and to provide options for modal shift. This is something that you see in the PD Community Plan from 1993. It was reaffirmed in 2018. We see PD Pathways, which was unanimously voted in 2016, which noted that traffic calming, as money becomes available, was part of the plan. In April 2022, the motion to abandon Diamond Street was put before this board and was rejected. So, and then the board did recommend that they do want some kind of program here. So this Diamond Street's not an accident. There's a reason why we keep coming back to this. It's this is a good street to have traffic on. Now I understand why the current design has a lot of issues. I'd especially take the safety concerns, since that's a major goal of this, is very concerning to me. And I've seen what everyone's discussing where people aren't respecting the stop signs. So I don't think the current design is ideal by any means. But I do want to recognize that what the city is trying to do here, even if they're kind of not doing it great, is not radical by any means, and that bike boulevards, diverters, similar types of designs have been seen in dozens of cities around the United States and around the world. And yeah, just that this street arrived in a very roundabout, COVID policy way, and I think that is very messy. I think we should hold the city to its experimental design and mention that this design is not working, especially in its temporary half position, and should move to some kind of mode that is accomplishing its initial goals of safety and this is clearly not.
It's the wrong street.
But you're making the assumption that there's something that needs to be calmed.
Yeah.
That there's danger.
Yeah.
There was no need for calming. There was no danger that needed to be addressed.
That's
I
right.
mean,
Nothing was
a big
broken.
part of traffic, like modal shift is like you have to, like there's like an S curve of adoption on where people will be willing to bike, and the less safe they feel, like different people are willing to take different risks in that area. So providing actual infrastructure where people don't have to be brave to bike does show results on more people biking around.
But I have to be brave to walk across my street because of the bike traffic, because of the e-bikes.
I mean, versus an SUV, like what kind of threat magnitude you're talking about?
No, they're monitored by stop signs. These bikes are not monitored by stop.
Right, and I mean, that is like breaking the law, right? Like,
Currently, all we have to go off of right now is anecdotal evidence and maybe news stories, which those are both valid, to back up an argument, but we need the data. That's what we're here tonight to discuss is what do we need to make a decision moving forward, because currently there's anecdotes from all over the place. Same thing with the dog park hours. So maybe it wasn't a bad idea to see, preface this night with that item. We need data to prove what the reality is, because if you live closer to down the street, you're gonna have a lot more stories. And if you live further away, you're not gonna know the true reality of the situation.
And procedurally, you need to have the community input before something is done.
Exactly.
That's where things have been screwed up.
Yeah, so also I will provide, sometimes it's very easy to get into speculation. The Slow Street program from the get-go did not come out of beautiful PB. It came out of the city's, traffic department or whatever. And there was one, I believe, in every district of the city during the pandemic. It was created, whether you want to say because of the pandemic or just as the pandemic was an excuse, you could speculate that all day long. But it came out of the city, and same thing with the bollards. That didn't come out of beautiful PB. The worst you can say is that beautiful PB just wants them to stay, which I'm sure many in the audience would say is that's bad enough. But it did not come out of beautiful PB. It came from the city by some person who decided that was what they wanted to put in place.
Which we don't even know. I mean, that's good data right there to find out. How did this even happen?
Exactly.
Who drove
That's
this
what we need
thing?
to know.
we saw a presentation with different designs,
No.
and then the city came back with
Nothing
what is currently.
Because nobody was Kava. When he said it was these civic groups that pushed him, he said, I was on your side, but these civic groups
Who said?
schooled me, Joe Kava, on a video conference. He
Yes.
said, these civic groups schooled me, and for that reason, we're just gonna let it go.
Well, I would say that, because I've heard some similar justifications from Joe Gaba, who's he's an engineer, and this is not me running defense for Joe Gaba, but he's an engineer, and the part of the whole initiative that's proposed, this is a 2-year pilot program, there's supposed to be results at the end. Do I think that there's going to be results? Because I don't think that there's really anybody administrating this. That's why we need to figure that out.
I'd also.
But I think that's what Joe Gaba says, he wants to see some kind of we have to go one at a time. We'll do Scott and then we'll do Jennifer.
So part of the data to collect is why did every other slow street get removed?
Yeah.
That is something we can try to figure out.
Part of the data that needs.
Jennifer and then we have Greg and we'll try to
Additional
keep these
data that
orderly.
needs to be found out is why the name changes. You guys talked about it as pathways, then it became Slow Street, and now it is called traffic calming. Through all of those things, we either get funding, lose funding, or whatever, and each group, and I think
I can get you a history on that.
I looked at your little QWERTY code thing and saw there's now like 6 groups pushing this, or 5 groups. But there were people who lived in Crown Point, I'm gonna name names, Alyssa Muto, and others on these boards who pushed this. Through Kevin Faulkner, when we saw him at Staples, he said it was never supposed to be permanent.
He said it's a pilot program, and he drove down it. I
Just 2 weeks
emailed
ago,
him to come here tonight.
We're dumbfounded as to how our community groups have so much power to push something through when we keep coming and telling you guys, you need to do more to survey more people. We can only get a few people here, but imagine if a letter went out to everybody, how many would come?
I am looking at like automatic, there's like traffic, we were talking about data. There's data counters that you can put in basically like a 2nd-story window and face it out towards the street, and it collects like what types of people are traveling by, like if it's a bike or a car, or pedestrian.
Brother.
And it's similar to like PB counts, but it's like instead of 2 hours on a random Saturday, it's like all of the time. So I'm looking to secure funding to get some of those things because they're like $500 each. But
Hey, we're keeping these over.
right,
The next
but this
person-
is like my citizen effort, like to try to do what I wish the city would do, which would be, you know, traffic studies.
Okay, Greg is the next one to speak.
What I have, I think is very important, Charlie was generally correct, beautiful PB did not initiate this, the city did, but there was an active player, the Bicycle Coalition, headed by
Yes,
Andy
that's
Hanshaw, as Scott knows.
Bicycle.
They muscled the city to do this.
Yes.
9 or 10 of the 16 people in favor of the slow
Thank
steam,
you.
the Bicycle
Good remembering.
Coalition
That's
people.
right, and they
It wasn't
don't
beautiful
live
PB.
in, yes.
Although they probably agree,
They had their
but
hand
they
in
did
it.
not cause this. You're off the hook this time. But it was the Bicycle Coalition that lobbied the city, trust me.
Well, yeah, they lobbied for a design. They didn't necessarily lobby for like this design. So that is a weird spot we get in. That like I'm pro traffic calming. I don't think this design's great. And like that's you know.
All right, so we're gonna start getting near the end of this conversation because we're
Let's
now
do
at
it.
9 o'clock meeting.
Let's go.
So the last few comments or pieces of information I want to hear is what do you want the planning group to try to get from the city of what would you think we would need to inform our decision best the next time we visit these items. So go with you to that.
To the point of gathering data, it is inherent upon you to have data from before
We
and
don't have
after to show that there has been changes or no changes. And that you
Can't do
can't just take current data and not say that you are better off or worse off than you were beforehand without the previous accidents and speeding and data.
Right.
Yeah, and these
Never
Because
mind.
now we're all adjusted, so we go around or we don't
And a
go.
street light,
Yeah.
it's because there were accidents on Diamond, but after we got a protected stop sign on every corner, which we
Yeah,
have with a
we
couple of
did.
them, we stopped having accidents.
That's right.
The only thing I can say now is between each street, you can get up to 40 miles an hour, like, before the stop sign. So if you're trying to calm my street because you want to,
Because of
then
that.
do something in the middle that calms the street. Don't do it at the intersection that block us.
Okay.
Diamond doesn't need calming.
The next person to speak is Annie.
Hi, so, you know, when the pandemic hit and I was seeing, I'm Annie, and so I was seeing kids, down at PB Rack and I would use Diamond, to be like, oh, there's no, I mean, there's virtually nobody out anyway. But, I would always take Diamond, she's convenient. But I still remember, and Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said in a previous town council meeting that there was someone, I don't know if it was on your street or like a street above you, and the guy was having a heart attack and the ambulance had to like
On Diamond.
go across, like go around the block a couple times, like.
It was her husband. We had 3 incidents. Her
Okay.
husband had a heart attack and they had to go around, and they had to make a U-turn. They would not go through the blockades. Another one, a stomach laceration on a motorcycle. They did go around the block 2 times. And then the last one, they had to go around to get to somebody else.
Yeah, so I feel like that's like, I mean, if we were voting tonight, I would vote to remove that street because people could have seriously died.
Yeah.
That issue came up at the April 22 meeting, and the fire chief or whoever representative was said, the fire equipment can travel over those bollards, no problem.
But they didn't.
But they didn't.
They did not.
And they still don't,
Because that
even the
came up.
cops who were doing
They still
the
do.
enforcement 2, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, said, we always make a U-turn around it, we never go through them.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I would say is that now, thanks to the town council, I've experienced filling out a special events permit. And when the special events department and the city reviews it, anything that's on the street or anything, they will look at with a magnifying glass super critically. So the fact that this program went in without, it seems like it didn't go into some kind of process like that, no study, anything, is very surprising. And so, you know, the fact that there's a serious danger if first responders can't get through the street, that does seem to be something critically that we need to look at and get an answer from the city.
First responders came through meetings and we can do it, we can mow them down. Those were the first first responders that stood here in front of us and said it's not gonna be a problem.
That's right.
And it's not gonna be a problem for the trash trucks, but we've had missed collections.
But it's going to be terrible infrastructure if the solution to get through is just to plow right through it. Why would you do something right now? But anyways, so
Charlie?
from a first responder perspective, or
If you want,
something-
I can get, just to wrap up, I can give you a list of the things I've heard that we want to get, and then you can say what, people can tell me what I don't include in this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also been writing things down.
Oh, good.
But, I mean, maybe it's something I missed, so I'll keep that list. But, all right, well then now we'll kind of wrap it up unless there's anything super
Inform the
pressing.
people, inform the people.
Yeah, I've got that, why no
Yeah, but
kid?
that would still be further down the line. We need the city to come here and present or get information from them about what the reality is and why they make these decisions, for the planning group to vote on this. So we'll be really, quickly.
Yeah, you need to have the city come out and sit at Diamond and Faneuil and just sit there for 2 hours on a busy Saturday and watch the people not stop at the stop sign going through north-south on vehicles and the cross street deal, but you need the city to do it.
Yes.
See if you can get a city representative from traffic engineering to come out, because they're saying it was safe as long as there was a stop sign. Well, now there's a nominal stop sign that nobody's gonna stop you for because there are bollards. So they're going through, they're not stopping.
All right. Thank
They
you.
need
Traffic
to
engineer.
sit more than a couple hours, they need to sit all day.
We will, I'm sure I'll just get us down
When did
here.
those bollards go in? Do you remember what month they went in?
May 2022.
No, I think it was 23, wasn't it? It was last year.
In
Last year.
Yeah.
In April of 2023, here at the PD planning group, on a whole thing on Diamond Slow Street, presentation information by Everett Hauser and Phil Strong.
That's
I remember asking these questions of them. We all came, there were comments about the bollards, the cyclists not stopping. They're very aware, and they did nothing. And your group did nothing to hold them accountable. After you had asked them to do studies. I have 6 agendas which was talked about here. It's disappointing.
Everhauser just said, showed pictures and said, this is what we're gonna do. With no input.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah,
That's the
well,
whole point.
We're not heard.
that's what the planning group will work on once we have the information. But that'll have to conclude it for tonight, for the Diamond Slow Street, or yeah, the Diamond Street project. We do have somebody who's been waiting an hour past their time to present. Carla Dorado, would you like to please give your report?
I have a quick report tonight. So, as most of you know, Ingham Street from La Jolla to Riviera Drive was repaved late last month. We know that this has been a long-awaited repair, and so we're just happy to have push it across the finish line. Yesterday, the council voted unanimously to support and move forward the fiscal year 2025 budget. So now, my office, my team is going through the entirety of the project and identifying one specific items. Once we do that, I anticipate it to be very soon. I will share that with Charlie, with the board, which will likely inform your CFP prioritization process. And then lastly, my last announcement is that tonight was my last CPB planning group meeting. I'm leaving the office this week. But you're taken care of. We already hired someone, and she's great. We're gonna meet her next month in this meeting and probably before another PB event. To the board, I just want to say, thank you for welcoming me with open arms and for helping me learn the ropes of this job. It's been an honor to work with you, and yeah.
We're sad to see you.
We only kept you so late because we wanted to spend so much more time with you. All right, well, let's give it over to Carla. She's in a All right, that will conclude it for tonight's planning group meeting. There will be no opportunity for last minute